folks. Welcome to the last day of Ignite. Thank you for everybody that has stayed for the very last day, the very last sessions. You just can't get enough of Power BI, so thank you for being here with us. I'm Kim Manis. I'm Vice President of Product for Power BI.
And my name is Mohammad Ali, and I'm also a GPM for the Power BI team.
This session is being recorded only audio and not video, so we added this slide for people listening in. And in discussing our superpowers or some fun fact, it turns out that I can eat really hot temperature food, and Mo can eat very spicy food. And we learned that about each other in preparing for this session, even though we've worked together for years. So there you go.
You sent people to hospital, Kim?
I have sent people to the hospital because I ate something very hot, and then they ate something hot and got burned. So that's how powerful my temperature skills are. So let's talk about Power BI. Power BI has been around for nearly 10 years. Its 10th birthday is going to be this summer. And since the very beginning of Power BI, it's been all about driving a data culture. Every person in their day-to-day work, every team working together to make a decision, and any scale, any business, large or small. And I'm sure you've heard a ton about Microsoft Fabric this week. We made a bunch of big announcements. Satya talked about it. Scott talked about it. Arun, Amir, Shirish. You've heard it all week, right? And maybe I'll just give my spiel for some of you who may not know what Fabric is or still don't really get it, especially if you're coming from the Power BI world. So the way I like to talk about Fabric is I compare it to Microsoft Office. Think about Office as a suite of productivity tools, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. And each of these tools is optimized for a particular task, a job to be done, whether it's building a spreadsheet or writing an email, building a presentation. And each of those applications share a bunch of things. They share user experience, how you spell check, how you copy and paste, how you format text. But they also share that underlying foundation, how you save files, how you collaborate, how you govern the platform, how you pay for it. So think about Fabric as a suite of data tools. They share a bunch of user experiences, right? Whether it's how you get data, how you manage workspaces, how you move from dev, test to prod. But they also share that underlying foundation, how you store all the data in one lake in those single open formats, how you manage governance and compliance. Even how you pay for all of these tools is managed centrally. So that's really how I like to explain Microsoft Fabric. But of course, Power BI is where it all began, right? And Power BI is key to this platform. And so today, we're really going to focus on Power BI, what we're doing, how we're innovating there, and how it connects to the larger ecosystem that is Microsoft Fabric. And Power BI is continuing to grow like crazy. Over 375,000 customers. 95% of the Fortune 500 are using Power BI. And it's all thanks to you, our community. And one of the cool things we've seen is when we launched Fabric in public preview in June of last year, usage of Power BI only continued to accelerate. And the reason I'm kind of telling you all this is, before I get to that, is because if you have Power BI, especially if you have Power BI Premium, you already have Fabric. You're licensed for Fabric already. You can start using all those tools today. And if you don't have Power BI Premium, you can kick off a 60-day free trial. You get an F64 capacity for free for 60 days. This is $17,000 of value that we just give to you to try it out. So if you haven't tried Fabric, and we'll talk about some of the tools in the demos to see how you can get started. But all this momentum, again, thank you to you. We're continuing to be the leader in the BI space. And our ambitions are just to keep growing and keep empowering you to do more with data. And I just wanted to highlight a couple customer examples to show you some of the areas of investment where we see customer success. Finastra is one of the largest, it's the largest pure play software vendor in the financial services industry. So they empower financial institutions with software for lending, for payments, treasury, capital markets, banking. And they've fully gone in on Copilot, Power BI Copilot, M365 Copilot. And I just love this quote they had in their customer story, talking about how they had this marketing team where they had to hire all these Power BI specialists. And now with Copilot, they just ask the system and get their answer, right? And so it's really revolutionizing how people are working with data and how quickly they can get to those insights. The other example I love is the city of Oslo. So Oslo is using Power BI. They're using SharePoint, Dataverse, all sorts of systems, right? And they didn't have a unified view of how all these systems connect. The example they talk about is they had a kindergarten manager who had to log into 25 different tools just to see the data for their district. So they adopted Fabric and were able to provide the single unified view into all their systems and provide better services for their constituents and for the people in their teams. So I just love that because it really makes these things that used to not be accessible to a whole new audience. So let's get into it, right? And the biggest thing in the last year is really Copilot in Power BI. And there's so much that Copilot enables you to do. Whether it's data preparation, building reports, asking questions of data. And we actually did a survey. So we talked to over 200 people, and we watched them use Copilot, and we watched them use Power BI. And the cool thing here is Copilot users were 52% faster in completing those data analysis tasks. And they retrieved those insights 36% more accurately. So not only were they faster, they were more accurate. And 90% of those people tested said they'd use it again. So if you haven't given Copilot a try yet, here's your signal to go give it a try. And I think I'll hand it over to Mo, and Mo's just going to give you a world tour of all of our Copilot capabilities across Power BI.
Cool. Thank you, Kim. So to give you context on this demo, and I'm going to just get to the screen. So some of you may have seen this demo before, but I'll hopefully give you a good background to this. So every year, as you guys saw in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, we get asked to attend the Gartner Bake-Off. So the top 3 vendors, so Microsoft, Tableau is usually there. This year was Oracle. We get asked to compete in a British bake-off style for data. So they basically give us a data set, and they say, ready, steady, bake. And our goal is to come up with the best analysis. And this year was the first year in which I would say that I use the word crushed lightly here, but we crushed our position because we used Copilot, and I was the one there, so all the credit goes to me. So I showed Copilot in a lot of the experiences, and I'm going to show you the demo that I did live on stage. So this is the exact demo that I did live on stage, and you have to do it all live. And the data set and the story I'm going to tell you is, so the theme for this year was on poverty data, so that's why I'm going to be talking about poverty a lot in this example. But I want to just give you an example of how I use Copilot end to end. So at the heart of it, I started off looking at Italy. And I wanted to really focus on how Italy is dealing with poverty. And the reason why I picked Italy is if you look at government public spending, Italy is 5th place ranked out of all the EU countries. If you look at population, they have the 3rd highest ranked population, the 3rd highest population in all the EU countries. If you look at all the other life expectancy and median gross domestic product, they're 3rd respectively. But if you look at poverty specifically, they are 44th ranked in terms of they have one of the lowest, the highest poverty rates. They're 44th ranked out of all the EU countries. And the thing that's interesting is if you drill down more deeper into Italy, you get this nice little chart here. I'm going to actually go back to poverty. You'll see a large divide between the north and the south. Now, a lot of people attribute this to the mafia. I'm here to show you that it's not because of the mafia that this is the case. I'm going to show you via Copilot today. Now, I could use Power BI today, and I can go and drill into all the different features and kind of eyeball the data. So in this example during the demo, I was like, OK, I could look at the road conditions, and I can click on the road conditions here. And I can kind of eyeball that the north has better road conditions than the south. I could look at the population and look at how much of the population have a basic education. And again, you can see this the north and south divide. However, I'm a lazy employee. I don't want to have to go through every single variable by variable, seeing what correlates with poverty and go through that. So this is how I started, I was trying to explain. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and use Copilot. And to give you an example of how unfriendly Gartner are to us is they give us access to a lot of data. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to expand the data view here. And you're going to see that I have over 1,000 measures of socioeconomic factors for Italy. And so this list goes on. Like I've got all of the data here. I've got population sizes, CO2 emissions. I've got education attainment. I've got like health expenditures. And look at the scroll bar. These are the number of measures I have. Now, going through every single variable and seeing how it relates to poverty is unreasonable. And this is where I said, I am going to use Copilot to help me do this analysis. Copilot will help me from my journey. So I'm going to dock away the data pane, because I don't need that. I'm going to go and open up the Copilot pane. And when I open up the Copilot pane, the thing I love about Copilot is it gives me plenty of places to start off on. So I'm going to say, can you suggest me places on how I can start off my report creation experience? So I'm going to click expand here, and it tells me, the thing I love is it knows it can do economic performance analysis, trade, population, or health analysis directly from the schema of the data. Now I'm going to do economic performance analysis, and this is going to take a couple of seconds to create a beautiful report for me. But I love the fact that Copilot knows that the best way to measure economic performance analysis is to look at GDP over time. It just knows that, and it knows all from that domain. Now, if it doesn't help you always, Copilot is an assistive experience. I can also say is I'm missing inflation. Copilot, can you add inflation? So I'm going to ask Copilot, can you add in inflation onto this report? I'm going to hit enter here in a second. And now what Copilot will do is automatically relay out the content of the report and bring in the inflation field for Italy directly onto this report canvas. And so you're going to see in a couple of seconds, it's brought in inflation. I'm going to move away the Copilot pane. And now it's created me my report. It gives me a good starting point. It helps me do the economic performance analysis trends directly here using the Copilot experience. Now, Gartner are somewhat unfriendly. They say, OK, cool. How about we give you a question, and your job is to answer this question? So I open up the Copilot pane. So actually, no, I'm going to start a new page. I'm going to open up my Copilot pane again. And I'm going to ask Copilot, can you examine poverty with health? A very simple question, but actually a very detailed answer. And I'm going to hit enter here. And what Copilot's going to do is go through all of the different things around poverty and health and bring in relevant insights and create me a beautiful report so I can actually go through the journey. And this will take a couple of seconds. So this is real-life performance. So it does take a couple of seconds if you have a very large model like I did today to go and figure out all the different combinations and permutations that it needs to render. And so once you get a report, you get the same looking report. Now, I want to draw your attention to the top left corner, the blue chart. One thing I did not know before I did this demo, that the best way to measure a country's performance on poverty is to look at how much of the population can survive on $6.85. The fact that Copilot was able to bring that right value, there's 25 things in my model called poverty, it brought the right value directly because it understands domains really well, understands general knowledge. Now, the great thing about Copilot is also brought in the relevant health indicators. So it knows the best way to measure health is to look at government health expenditure, look at the undernourishment, look at the life expectancy over time, look at the suicide mortality rate, and also the infant mortality rate as well. So it just knows that just by looking at the data that these are the interesting things. Now, Copilot is an assistive experience. You can also move the visuals around. It's not a one-and-done experience. I can easily just relay out the content just as I see fit. But I want to show you another cool feature that I love about Copilot is sometimes my VP loves to see things in textual format. They don't like visuals. And so I'm going to use Copilot to summarize what I see on the page in a nice format that I can easily copy and paste in an email. So I'm going to ask Copilot, can you summarize this data and can you put it in bullet point form? I'm going to click update here. And now I have nice, beautiful bullet points of my data. Now, my VP likes things in whole sentences, not short sentences. So I'm going to just quickly ask Copilot to put in sentences. So I can easily copy this in an email. And I'm just going to update the guidance that I give to Copilot. I'm going to hit enter here. And you're going to see in a couple of seconds, it's going to give me those bullet points, but with whole sentences. So I can easily copy and paste them in emails. Now, it also gives you these little numbers, if you can guys see, like it says 1 and 2. When you click on these little numbers, it actually tells you which part of the summary came from which part of the report. So it helps me build trust between me and the AI, between what's actually happening on screen. And so I get a bit trigger happy during the demo here. I start clicking on all of them just to prove the point. Now, the final thing that Gartner asked us to do was, hey, can you ask questions on your data? So sometimes my VP will come in a meeting and say, hey, what is something, something, something? So in this case, he was like, what year had the highest poverty rate? I can hit enter here. And a very common problem people have is that they have many report pages, but they lose track of which answers on which report page. The great thing about Copilot is it can give you the answer, tells you where it found the answer, so you can actually build, again, that trust between me and the AI. Now, the final thing I want to go through here is sometimes the data model author forgets to do something. So in this case, I want to do a year-over-year calculation on poverty headcount. Now, my report author forgot to do that. Normally, I would go into Excel, export into Excel. But the great thing about Copilot is I can directly do the calculation directly inside the experience. So I can ask Copilot what is the year-over-year change since 2015 for poverty? And now Copilot will render me a table of the answer directly inside my Copilot experience. This will take a couple of seconds. And I think I zoom in. I get a bit trigger happy with the zoom here, just to show you guys it's working. But it gives you that year-over-year calculation. So it's really helping me through my end-to-end data journey. So these are just some of the ways, Kim, that we're really enabling Copilot for our users from an end-to-end experience.
Amazing. Now when I ask Mo data questions, it's like a Turing test every time, like who's responding, the Copilot or Mo, I'm not sure. Amazing reporting experiences using Copilot, so much easier to explore the data. The most important thing when it comes to Copilot is having really good data, right? Because the AI is only going to be as good as the data you're consuming. And a critical part of that is the semantic model. The semantic model is the place that keeps all your business logic, all the relationships, all this stuff that honestly is often in our heads, right? How we think about the business, how we calculate revenue. And so it's critical for creators in Power BI to spend that time making sure you have a great semantic model. And that is what all of these questions can be built on. All of these reports from Copilot can be built on. And we're investing heavily in authoring tools for the semantic model. You may have seen the DAX query view that we shipped recently that you can use Copilot to build DAX expressions. But starting in the next Power BI desktop release, we're going to have a really cool new view called TMDL. And that is going to let you create models in all new ways, super efficient. And so I'm going to leave it to Mo to explain what TMDL view is, because I think a picture is better than words here on this one.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. OK, so I'm going to start off my journey in Power BI Desktop. And really, TMDL view is a way of visualizing your model in a human-readable format. So it allows you to do bulk changes very fast. So I'm going to go ahead here, and you're going to see that there's a new button on my left-hand rail. And now I've got the TMDL view, which is a code-first view. And now I can just drag in tables, columns, measures. And I can see the exact script that produced that portion of the model. So in this case, I drag in a table. I can see all my measures defined here. I can drag in individual tables or columns here as well. So I can exactly see how they were defined. But let me tell you why you might want to do that. So if you script some of the tables, but you want to quickly make a modification, so in this case, I want to add measures. If I want to add a group of measures really quickly, I can easily do that inside the TMDL view. So if I want to quickly do a total, a sum, an average, a cumulative total, I can directly do that inside the TMDL view here. So I can really do this. And the great thing is I have a button at the top, which is called Apply. When I click the Apply button, then all the changes are done in one go. So I don't have to sit there and wait for each measure to be added one by one to the model. I can do it in a bulk operation. Now, the other cool thing I can do is I can actually take something that I've created from a previous project. So in this case, I create a calculation group that has all my time-related dimensions, year-to-date, month-to-date, and so forth. I can just copy and paste this in, click Apply, and now I have myself a reused calculation group in this model. So I can expand out. I can show you this calculation item. I've got year-to-date, measure-to-date, month-to-date, quarter-to-date directly inside this experience there. Now, the final thing, or actually, something else that people struggle with is they want to document their model. And so you can also use Copilot to easily document your entire model. So I can say, can you provide measure descriptions for all of the measures inside my model? So I can enter here, it gives me this nice thing. But if I go over to the side, you'll see that if I expand out columns, at the moment, if I just hover over one of them, you'll see that none of them have any description. They've just got the name. Yep. Now, if I click Apply to what Copilot just gave me, and I go back, you'll see now I have human readable descriptions on my model. And this is just one of the things that we're doing with Copilot. Now, the last thing I want to show you for the TMDL views is sometimes people want to speak in different language, and they want to easily add translations to their model. Now, I'm pleased to say with Copilot, this journey is super simple. All I need to do is tell me which language I want to translate this. In this case, I'm doing French. And now it will actually add me the translations directly onto the model in the language of choice. And I could have done any language here. I chose French just for convenience. And now if I go into the Power BI service and I hit Apply here, and I refresh the report that I was accessing, that metadata will now come in French if I use the right locale. And now all of the things are there. Now, we don't translate the report yet. We only do the model, and so that's why you see some things still in English. But this is taking you one step closer to having a fully fledged report that can support multiple languages. And so these are just some of the things that you can do in the new TMDL view, and I hope you really enjoy and will get to use it in the new latest desktop release. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah. For those that have been building semantic models for a long time, TMDL view is a fan favorite for sure. And just like you saw, Copilot helping you create things like descriptions then feeds into Copilot so that when your end users ask questions, the descriptions can really help because now Copilot can pull off of that content. So just super cool. Another thing I wanted to call out, an announcement we made this week, is Fabric AI capacities. So when it comes to using Copilot, we license Copilot through F64 capacities or P capacities and above, right? This is because those capacities are the ones that are allowed for broad distribution in Power BI. But you have a lot of users that are on Pro, that don't have Premium, that don't have their workspaces in a Premium capacity. Maybe you're worried about overloading your existing capacity with a bunch of end users asking Copilot questions and potentially throttling your production workspace. So this is where AI capacities come in. Today, with capacities, you can associate a capacity with a workspace. Now with AI capacities, you can also associate that same capacity with people. So that means if I give Mo access to this capacity, no matter what report he's looking at, no matter what content he's looking at, he can use the capacity that is associated with him, regardless of where that's stored, if it's in a premium workspace, if it's not. So this allows, one, you to broadly distribute AI to your users, and two, to experiment with different isolation strategies so that you can keep Copilot separate with a different capacity if you so choose. So definitely check out AI capacities. That's rolling out now. And we've heard a lot of feedback, really, that you want to give Copilot to all of your users. This is a great way to do that. So now we're going to switch gears. And we're going to talk about Power BI as the center between Office and Fabric, right? A lot of people ask me, where does Power BI sit? Is it part of the Power Platform? Is it part of Office? Is it part of Fabric? And the answer is yes. It's part of all of these things, right? And it has this unique place in the middle of all of these things and can be that bridge. And in this first section, we're going to talk about how it's the bridge to those business users. And those business users often live in Office. We've taken a lot of care to integrate Power BI into nearly all the Office applications. You can find it in Teams, you can find it in Excel, in PowerPoint, in SharePoint, in Outlook. And that's because we want to make sure the data gets to the users when and where they're making decisions, where they're doing work. And so you see here, there's an example of Power BI embedded in Teams. And not only is it just embedded in Teams, we also do things like notifications. So when somebody shares with you, you get a notification in Teams. And this just really makes that experience more natural and reminds your users that the data is there for them and accessible. And when we see customers leveraging those Power BI and Office integrations, they're 2 to 3.5 times more engaged when they're a new user because, again, it's where they work. They don't have to change their habits. So if you're not already exploring those Power BI and Office integrations, definitely check those out. And now in terms of the new capabilities in Power BI we want to talk about, it really comes down to streamlining distribution of enterprise data. Because again, you do all this work to build this beautiful semantic model and get the data in a form that you can consume it. You need to make sure it gets to the users and that they can access it, that they can easily reuse it, that they don't have to start from scratch every time. So the first capability we want to talk about is the Fabric Metrics Hub. And this is available today. And what this allows you to do is take your existing semantic models, right? Think about these giant semantic models many of you have built, right? At Microsoft, we have MS Sales is this giant semantic model that runs our entire sales business and all of the compensation. It's huge. If you look at it, you wouldn't even know where to start in terms of what model, what table, what columns to use. So with the Metrics Hub, you can go ahead and create almost mini semantic models. And these mini semantic models allow you to partition those semantic models into logical components that are consumable by your end users, by creators. So that allows you to create different segments and then deploy them to different parts of your organization. And then they have an amazing consumption experience. They know exactly which dimensions to use, which measures to use. So this is a really exciting one that's out now. And I think I'll hand it over to Mo, and Mo can give you a tour.
Cool. Thank you, Kim. OK, so let's explain what Metrics Hub is and how to use it. So I'm going to start off in Power BI, and I'm just going to create a new metric set. So you'll now see the ability to create a new type of artifact called metric set. So I'm just going to give it a name, just like you normally would. And I'm just going to click Create. And now I'm in a new blank metric set. And so I can give it a description. I can choose a contact or owner. But as Kim mentioned, I can actually add metrics directly inside the experience. So I can open the Data Hub. I can see all my data sets. I can choose the right semantic model. And again, now I'm selecting which measures do I want to bring in. And so I don't have to bring in the entire model. This is the whole point of metric set. I can choose the right measure that I want to bring in. So in this case, I want to bring in revenue open, and I can create the metric. Now, a metric itself is normally useless until you bring in the right dimensions. So now I can choose which dimensions this metric should be sliced by. And this is me helping my consumer out so they don't have to figure out from the model which are the right dimensions to use. So in this case, I select account name. I'm selecting some industry column, and I think I choose close date. And the thing on the right-hand side is very interesting. It actually shows you or generates you some relevant visuals based on the dimension and based on the measure on the right-hand side. And you can kind of start seeing the visualize slowly pop up and slowly update. Now, if I'm a consumer and I go to my metrics hub, I can see all of my metric sets in a single place. I can choose that same metric hub that I just created, and now I can see all that data. And me as a consumer, I can see that metric, and I can see all the relevant dimensions, and Power BI organizes them based on what we think is interesting for you. So I can kind of scroll through them. But I can also use Explore. And Explore allows me to quickly modify the data that I see. So if I don't like the metric set or I want to see a metric with more than one dimension, I can easily do that through the Explore experience. So in this case, I'm dragging in product category on the legend. I can choose a different type of visualization. I can drag in close date as well to kind of see that dimension with the measure that I want to see. And then I can choose the different type of chart as I see fit. And again, it gives the user, we give the user the control. Now, the final thing I want to show is sometimes your data scientists want to connect to your data, and you don't know how. The great thing is we've directly made it so that you can use a Fabric notebook, and you can use Python code to directly access that metric. And so I can execute the code here, and it gives me the metric. But I can also use the relevant dimensions. So I can actually tell in my Python code, I can say, hey, these are the dimensions that are in the metric set. I don't need to think twice about those dimensions. And now I have all of that rich data directly inside my Python experience to then create my machine learning models. And this is not creating I'm not creating shadow IT here. The data scientist can access the same data that the user is seeing, and it really helps enable that collaboration between the two pieces. Thank you, Kim.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Metrics. Yeah, I love metrics because, again, it takes advantage of that semantic model that you've already built. You don't have to rebuild it again, but you can just distribute it in different ways to make sure it's curated for the people you want to work with. So the next area of distribution we want to talk about is Fabric OR gaps. So we've had OR gaps in the product for a long time in Power BI, and it's really the mechanism for deploying packages of content in Power BI broadly to the entire organization. And now with Fabric OR gaps that are in public preview now, you can package content, not only Power BI content, you can package Fabric content. So you can take RTI dashboards, you can real-time intelligence dashboards, you can take notebooks, and you can deploy those to end users as well. So now you have all these new tools that you can use to tell that story to the business. And along with Fabric artifacts, we've also continued to improve OR gaps based on a lot of feedback from you guys. You want all the customization, we give you all the customization. You can create multiple apps from the same workspace, again, because so many of you want to curate the content specifically for different audiences. Maybe the app that I give to the marketing team is different than I give to the sales team. So OR gaps are really that mechanism for broad deployment. Again, because if you do all this work and no one has access to it, what's the point in the first place? So Mo will give you a tour of that one as well.
Awesome. OK, so Fabric OR gaps is one of my most favorite features. I think it has one of the highest usage features in Power BI as well. But to give you an example, I'm going to start off in Power BI in just a normal workspace view. And I'm going to click New Item. And now you'll be able to soon see, I think it's shipped, actually. So you'll be able to see now an OR gap button there. And when you click on OR gap, now I'm creating an artifact of my app. So I'm going to give it the Hawaii tourism app name. And I'm now in my app experience. And this looks very familiar to you guys. But now I can add many interesting things. I can add an overview page directly inside my app. So I can give it a name. I can give it a header. And then what happened before was people would normally create a separate report to just do the title page. I can now do that directly inside the app. So in this case, I'm going to give it market analysis. I'm going to add a description here. I can also choose whether it should use a different theme or I should use the app theme. And I'm going to describe what the app theme is in a second. So I'm going to say use the app theme and click add here. And now I've got myself a contents page. Now I'm going to add content. And the great thing that Kim mentioned is I can also bring in not just a report, but I can also bring in Fabric items like a notebook. Or I can also bring in a real-time dashboard directly inside my OR gap. Now, once I click add to the app, I have my overview page automatically filled. I can also add and go through, and when you click on the notebook, what you'll get is the output of the notebook. And so if someone's created a really super sophisticated visual, you can actually directly render that inside your app for your business users. I can also add links to Word documents, to your SharePoint, to your support site, if anyone has any issues with this app. I can actually directly link that all within inside my app here today. I can also create sections. I can also lay out how I want the navigation to look. So really, it gives you the full set of customizations. I can move stuff around. And the thing I like about it is when you move this stuff around, your table of contents page respects what you just did. So now I have my overview page really respecting the organizational. Now, I can also add in a nice image. People love images. So I'm going to add a new image of the Hawaii tourism. I can choose hot pink, or I can choose blue to represent my theming colors. So I'm going to use blue, because I think that reminds me of the waves. And I'm going to click Apply here. And then when I want to go and preview the app, all I just goes to the top right corner and say Preview. And now I've got myself app built. And if I navigate as a user, I can see that when I click on a report, I've got the report pages also showing up in the app view. Now, if you don't like the navigation behavior, guess what? You can also change now the app navigation behavior. We give you many, many options. You can separate the app from the page. You can also just disable the app navigation bar and say everyone should be using the table of contents page as well. And once you click Apply, if you make a change, we'll let you know, and you have to accept the change. Now, the final thing that a lot of people struggle with is when they try to share the app, they struggle because we do not today do permission propagation. With the new org app, we now automatically handle all the permissions for you. So now when you give access to the app, you get access to all the artifacts that build up that app. And I can choose how I want to share that app as well. And now, so when I go to the viewing experience, and as a user I view it, now I can see I have an overview page. I don't have that nasty navigation that I didn't want. And when I click on a report, I can see my report navigation show up on the side separately, just as I was showing you before. And so these are just some of the ways we really want to take off and give you the full customization and capability with apps. And we really hope you really enjoy some of these features.
Awesome. You know, apps are great. You know, I talk to a lot of customers where the name of the app is often what their users even refer to. They don't know they're using Power BI. They just know they're using their Hawaii tourism app. And so all these little customizations add up because you can really make it feel like your organization and build it just for your users, right? And we have a ton of Power BI customers, a lot of Power BI customers, where the end users purely access Power BI through those apps. So again, really making that a curated experience that creators can make just right is critical. So now we'll talk about the other side of this flywheel, right, which is Fabric. And again, Fabric has gotten a whole lot of attention this week. We've gotten a lot of amazing announcements. And a lot of Power BI customers say to me, like, why should I care? Like, I'm just doing BI. Like, what's in it for me, right? And it's really about career opportunity. And if we think about how much Power BI has evolved people's careers in this community over the years, and how we've turned BI from something where, you know, somebody somewhere would have to build you a report and it would take 3 months and then you'd get it back and file a ticket if you want to make a change. And now any business user can go and build their own reports. Fabric really offers new opportunities for Power BI developers to become even more powerful. And before we get into some of those demos, I want to talk a bit about OneLake. And OneLake is the OneDrive for data. Back to my metaphor of Office, right? We want to make it as easy to access data as it is to access files in OneDrive. And we do that through standardization on open formats. And on a single open format, we've adopted Delta as the main format, but just in public preview now, Iceberg as well. So if you're using Databricks, Databricks has standardized on Delta, Snowflake has standardized on Iceberg. And really, the reason we're adopting these open formats is because we don't want you to be locked in. Right? We want you to land that data in OneLake in open formats, and then you can use it with any of your tools of choice, whether it's in Fabric or outside of Fabric. So the cool thing here, you know, again, my metaphor of Office. Do you want to tell a story in PowerPoint? Do you want to tell a story in Word? Do you want to write Python code? Do you want to write SQL code? Do you want to use Power BI to explore the data? Regardless of how you get the data, regardless of how you explore the data, it lands in OneLake in that format. And that means anyone who has access to that data can reuse it in any of our other engines, or any other third-party engines that also have adopted those open formats. So this is really powerful for Power BI customers, because Analysis Services, Power BI's engine that powers our semantic models, has also adopted OneLake and those open formats, which means you can reuse the data from Power BI in all these other experiences. So Mo's going to give you a tour of, for a Power BI user, what might you be able to do with all this data, and how can it make you more powerful?
Cool, thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
OK, so before I oh, wait, I was not meant to start it. Whoops. Oh, it starts automatically. OK, mistake. So before I start, I want to just give you context. What Kim said was the most important thing that I've seen many customers come to me for questions for Fabric and Power BI. In Fabric, we really give you abundance of choice, depending on your skill sets, to do what you can do at the most productive way. And so you're going to see in this demo, I'm going to show a user doing Python. If they don't want to do Python, they can do SQL. If they don't want to do SQL, they can do Power Query. If they don't want to do Power Query, they can do Power BI. And we really give you abundance of choice, and you're always working off of one single copy of the data. So there's no need to replicate the data, because Power BI and Fabric work so well together. You're not replicating the data. We just give you the abundance of choice. So I'm going to start off in the Fabric portal. And one of the things that I love about Fabric is when you come into Fabric, you can actually create what we call a task flow that allows you to organize your data architecture and all the different pieces in a nice diagrammatic format. And so you can create a medallion architecture very easily through a task flow. Now I'm going to head over to an existing workspace. And I've already created, and you can create a custom task flow to represent how your data is. And the thing I love about Fabric is you can click on one of these items on the task flow. Like I'm going to click on Collect Data. It actually references all the artifacts for that item. So you can see all the things that are collecting data. I can click on Prepare and see all the artifacts that are preparing data. And so if I want to go to a data flow that's doing the preparation stage, I can easily just click into it and see what's happening. Now, in this example, I've already brought in some data from different sources, but I want to clean up the data. Now, we are in 2024, so guess what? I'm going to use Copilot to help me with this journey. So I'm going to load up the Copilot pane. And one of the simple things that I want to do is I want to just do a simple core minutes calculation. I want to do a simple calculation, and I just want to add a new column. Guess what? In Copilot, in data flows, I can just simply do that. And now I have myself a core minutes column directly added onto my model. And you can see it here very clearly. Sometimes people from SQL backgrounds will bring in underscores, and they want to quickly tidy up the underscores from the data model. They don't like underscores. Instead of me going one by one for each column, I can just ask Copilot to quickly clean up all those underscores for me. And this is a huge time saver that you'll see inside our experience. Enter here. Now all of my underscores are removed.
Think about how much time data preparation takes for all of us that Copilot that click tax is gone.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And so I can also say, hey, put spaces in between camel format as well, and Copilot will respect that as well. Now I'm going to hit Publish here. I'm going to head back to my solution, and now I'm going to just keep going through the solution. So I've now cleaned up the ETL. I've now brought in this core minutes. But now I'm a Python user. I'm someone who wants to use Python to clean up my data. So I'm going to head over to a notebook, and off that same copy of data, after I've done the ETL job, I can now write Python code. Now, I'm not too familiar with Python, so I'm going to use Copilot to help me write Python code. I'm going to head over and say, can you create me a histogram? Because I don't know how to do that in Python code. I'm just going to hit Enter here. And again, Copilot will give me code to help me do this. The great thing is I can just copy it directly into my notebook, run it, and check if it did the right thing. And now I've got myself a very sophisticated histogram that would have taken me probably maybe a couple of more minutes than Copilot would have done. And I get this beautiful chart here and can see the distribution of all the core minutes.
Yeah, and for Power BI users, notebooks just offer a whole new way of exploring data, a whole new set of visuals that you didn't have access to in Power BI. So super cool.
Yeah, and if you're not a Python user and you're more of a SQL user, guess what? You can go back and click on a data warehouse that, again, is connecting to that same piece of data. And I can now use SQL to query that data. So again, I'm going to use Copilot because my SQL is a bit rusty. I'm going to ask Copilot to do the investment by spend. I think that's what shop interest by spend. I'm going to hit Enter here, and now I've got myself SQL code. And I can easily kind of eyeball it and see it looks pretty much correct. I'm going to hit Run here, and now I've got my query returning me SQL results. Again, working off that single copy of the data. So I haven't copied it over, I haven't have to worry about it. And really, that's where Fabric is really helping. Mm-hmm. And the final thing I want to show you is how do people collaborate? One of the top questions we get asked is, we have native Git control directly in a Fabric workspace. So when I click on source control, I can see all of my changes for this workspace in one go. And everything is in a human-readable format. I can see who's done what change. I can easily sync the changes across or sync in part of the changes directly here. I can provide a comment, can provide feedback, and then just hit commit directly inside my workspace and commit it to my source control. And so this is, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so this is just some of the ways and that Fabric is really helping promote and help drive an end-to-end data solution directly inside. For those users using Power BI, this is a great way of really onboarding onto Fabric and just making sure that you can create and do things more that you couldn't do before.
Yeah, awesome. And data, yeah, it's pretty cool. I always say data is a team sport, right? There's so many people involved in any given data project. So having one workspace where we can all collaborate, one task flow that's basically a living whiteboard of our project and what's going on, one place to manage source control, it just makes it so much easier to collaborate. So even if you have a whole mix of users, some more technical than others, you can still work in the same place and know that maybe the business users who aren't familiar with Git can collaborate with the data scientists who are writing Python code all in the same place. So super powerful. So we've got a lot of announcements this week. I wanted to highlight some of the cool Power BI specific announcements. Published a web support for Azure Maps. A lot of people have been asking for that. Subscription delivery to OneDrive and SharePoint, so you can deliver subscriptions and changes to those folders. Power Query sources for paginated reports. Those of you may have already seen dark mode is in Power BI Desktop, a long-awaited capability. You can edit direct lake models in Power BI Desktop now, huge capability. So a ton happening here, a lot more coming. TMDL view coming in the next Power BI Desktop release, so stay tuned for that. But this is just a subset of all the announcements, so you should check out the blog because there's a ton going on. So a lot of folks ask, oh my gosh, there's so much going on, so much in Fabric. Like Mo gave this tour, how do I even start, right? Where do I begin? And I always answer the Fabric Career Hub. So the Fabric Career Hub is your place to figure out, what role guidance, what roles should I look at, to get certified, to learn from other people, to get trained up. All of these are here. You can connect, you can learn the product, you can connect with the community, and access all that career guidance. So if you're overwhelmed by all the Fabric announcements and all the changes to Power BI, all the changes to Fabric, the single place you should start is the Fabric Career Hub. Tons of amazing resources. We have 2 certifications now in Fabric. So the first one is the Fabric Analytics Engineer, DP600. And this one is great for somebody that's really familiar with Power BI that wants to get ramped up on Fabric. And then we just announced the DP700, which is the data engineering certification. So if you want to go even deeper into data warehousing in Spark in real time, DP700 is for you. So definitely check those out. And of course, if you want to learn more, we will be in person in Las Vegas for the 2nd annual Fabric Conference. This is going to be hundreds of sessions from the product team, from MVPs, from customers, from the community to learn everything there is to learn about Fabric. So last year we had over 4,000 people. We're hoping to double it this year, so I hope to see you all there. We're going to have a lot of fun. We even have the T-Mobile Arena, which is it the T-Mobile Arena or AT&T? The Vegas Arena where the Kings play for the keynote. So it's going to be so much fun. Mark your calendars. There's an early bird discount now, so please check it out. And yeah, that was our whirlwind tour of Power BI and Fabric. So thank you, everybody.